2,500 years ago, the world looked nothing like ours. No smartphones, no social media, no 24-hour news cycles bombarding us with information. And yet, the human heart? Exactly the same. Buddha dealt with anxiety, the kind that keeps you awake at 3 in the morning, mind racing through scenarios that haven't happened yet. He understood loss, watching people he loved disappear from his life, feeling that ache that has no words. He knew relationship pain, the misunderstandings, the disappointments, the complicated dance of being human with other humans. He faced existential dread, that hollow feeling of, what's the point of all this? And political chaos? His world was filled with warring kingdoms, corrupt officials, and social injustice. The packaging changes. The human condition doesn't. These 53 teachings are practical psychology before psychology existed. They're not religious doctrine demanding your faith. They're observations about how suffering works and how freedom becomes possible. There's a story I love about someone who discovered these teachings during the worst year of their life. Everything had fallen apart. Job gone, relationship ended, health failing. They stumbled across Buddha's words, not looking for religion, just desperate for relief. What they found wasn't a quick fix. It was something deeper, a complete reframing of what it means to be human, to suffer, and to be free. That's what these teachings offer. Not a band-aid for a bullet wound. Deep transformation. Here's how this differs from most self-help you've encountered. Self-help often says, be positive, manifest your dreams, change your thoughts, change your life. All that relentless pressure to feel good, think right, be better. Buddha says something radically different. Understand your thoughts. See their nature. Be free. He's not asking you to achieve permanent happiness. That's impossible. And chasing it creates more suffering. He's inviting you to relate differently to all experience. The good, the bad, the utterly mundane. You don't have to feel good all the time. You just have to stop making it worse. There's such relief in that, isn't there? You're not broken. You don't need fixing. You need understanding of yourself, your mind, the nature of this existence we're all navigating together. Wisdom over tips. Transformation over techniques. So what's the journey we're taking together over the next few hours? These 53 teachings are organized as a healing journey, each one building on the last, each one a doorway into deeper understanding. But here's what matters. This isn't about memorization. It's about absorption. Each teaching is a seed. Some will sprout immediately, shifting something in you right now. Others will lie dormant for months, even years, until suddenly, in some random Tuesday afternoon moment, you'll remember, and it'll make perfect sense. You might forget the exact words I'm speaking. That's okay. You'll remember how they made you feel. That feeling, that's what transforms you. Right now, thousands of people are listening to these same words. Someone in Tokyo at dawn. Someone in New York unable to sleep. Someone in London on their commute. Someone in Sydney seeking peace during a lunch break. All of us, in this moment, connected by the same longing for clarity, for calm, for a way through the chaos. You're not alone in this. Here's your permission structure, and I mean this. Take what serves you. Leave the rest. If something resonates, let it in. If something doesn't land, let it pass. Buddha himself said not to accept his teachings on blind faith. Test them, live them, see if they reduce suffering. If they do, keep them. If they don't, leave them behind. By the end of these 53 teachings, you won't have all the answers. That's not the goal. You'll have something better, a path, a way of seeing, of being, of moving through this world that creates less suffering and more peace. And that path, it starts right now. Let's begin. Breathe. You're exactly where you need to be. Teaching 1. The attentive mind. The fool sleeps as if already dead, but the master stays awake and lives forever. He watches. He is clear. Picture yourself scrolling at midnight, thumb moving automatically, not even seeing what you're looking at. That's sleeping while awake. Buddha's pointing to 2 ways of moving through life. Most of us are sleepwalking, reacting, operating on autopilot, lost in thought loops about past and future. We're physically here, but mentally elsewhere. The master, and this could be you, lives with sama, sati, right mindfulness. Not thinking about life, but in it. Watching doesn't mean becoming cold or distant. It means seeing clearly, without the fog of constant mental chatter. There's a woman I know who spent years stuck in traffic, raging at every red light, every slow driver. One Tuesday morning, something made her pause. Instead of feeding the anger, instead of fighting it, she just watched it arise. And something remarkable happened. The anger lost its grip. She noticed the sky turning orange and pink, the song playing on the radio, her own breath moving in and out. She was awake. Right now, as you listen, notice you're listening. That's wakefulness. That's all it takes to start. This is the first step of the Eightfold Path showing up in life. Seeing clearly. You can't change what you don't see. The sleeping world will keep sleeping. That's okay. Your job is only your own waking. And here's the gift. Once you start watching, once you taste that clarity, you can't fully go back. Something in you remembers. That remembering grows. Teaching 2. Heedfulness. Attentive among the careless, awake, while others sleep, swift as a racehorse, you leave others behind. There's a version of this teaching that makes it sound competitive. You're winning while others lose. But that's ego talking, and Buddha taught seeing through ego. Here's what it really means. When you wake up to this moment, when you practice mindfulness, you're not racing against others. You're stepping out of the race entirely. Everyone else is running toward tomorrow, haunted by yesterday. You're here, now. That makes you swift not because you're faster, but because you're not carrying the past or future like weights. Two friends go hiking. One rushes ahead, missing everything, thinking only about reaching the summit. The other walks steadily, noticing the moss growing on stones, listening to birds calling through the trees, feeling each breath fill the lungs. Who's really traveling? The leaving behind isn't about superiority. It's about liberation. You leave behind the suffering that comes from resisting this moment, from wanting to be anywhere but here. This is right effort from the Eightfold Path, not straining, not forcing, but applying intelligent energy to stay present. You're awake while others dream because you've decided that this moment, exactly as it is enough. That's revolutionary. That's freedom. And here's the tender part. As you wake up, your presence might wake others. Not through preaching, but through being. Peace is contagious. Wakefulness spreads like dawn. You're not better than the sleeping. You're just no longer willing to miss your own life. Teaching 3. The mind. As the archer shapes his arrows straight, the master directs his wandering thoughts. Your mind is not your enemy. Let that land. Buddha didn't teach that thoughts are bad, or that you need to destroy your mind. He taught that you can learn to work with it. Think of an archer. She doesn't hate the wood. She understands its nature and patiently, carefully, shapes it to fly true. That's your relationship with your thoughts. Right now, your mind probably jumps like a monkey in a tree, past to future, worry to fantasy, judgment to planning. That's normal. That's what untrained minds do. Right concentration from the Eightfold Path is about training attention, not forcing, not fighting, guiding, gently bringing your mind back when it wanders. Again, and again, and again. A man sits down to meditate for the first time, frustrated within minutes that his mind won't shut up. Thoughts everywhere, relentless. His teacher smiled when he complained, "You think the practice is having no thoughts. The practice is noticing when you're lost in thought and coming back. That noticing, that's the practice. Every time you notice you've drifted and return to breath, to body, to this moment, you're shaping your arrow. You're training your mind to be usable, responsive, clear. This isn't about control. It's about understanding. Your thoughts arise from causes, memories, fears, desires, physical states. When you understand this, You stop identifying with every thought that passes through. Notice your thoughts right now. Don't judge them. Just notice. Thinking is happening. You're not your thoughts. You're the aware space they pass through. That archer's patience, that's what you're cultivating. One breath, one return, one moment at a time. Teaching 4. Hatred. In this world, hatred never dispels hatred. Only love dispels hatred. This is an ancient and eternal law. This is direct from the Dhammapada, one of Buddha's most famous teachings. And it's not just poetry, it's psychology. Think about the last time someone hurt you and you hurt them back. Did it end the pain? Or did it multiply it, echoing outward, creating more suffering for everyone? Hatred fed grows. Hatred starved dissolves. But Buddha's not asking you to be a doormat. Right action includes protecting yourself from harm. Love doesn't mean accepting abuse. It means refusing to poison yourself with hatred. There's a mother whose son was killed by a drunk driver. For years, she carried rage like hot coals, burning only her. Then one day, she visited the driver in prison. Not to forgive. She wasn't ready for that. But to see him as human. To look into his eyes and recognize the suffering there, the remorse, the brokenness. Something shifted in that moment. The hate loosened its grip. She could breathe again. Metta practice, loving kindness, meditation is Buddha's tool for this transformation. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I live with ease. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. Even for those who hurt us. It sounds impossible until you try it. Slowly, it rewires your heart. This isn't spiritual bypassing. Feeling rage is human. Buddha's teaching is, don't let rage drive. Feel it. Understand it. Let it pass. Respond from wisdom, not reaction. Hatred is exhausting. Love is restful. Even when it's hard, it doesn't corrode your being from the inside. Ancient law, eternal truth. Only love dispels hate. Teaching 5. The transient. You too shall pass away. Knowing this, how can you quarrel? Buddha taught Maranasati, death awareness, not to depress, but to wake us up. You're going to die. I'm going to die. Everyone you love will die. This isn't pessimism. It's a nikka, impermanence, one of the 3 marks of existence. Sit with that for a moment. Really let it in. You have limited time. So does everyone else. Now, does that argument from last week matter? That grudge you're nursing? That pride keeping you from apologizing? A man lay dying in a hospital bed, and someone asked if he had regrets. Every harsh word, he whispered. Every moment I chose being right over being kind. That's what I'd take back. Death is the great teacher of priorities. It clarifies what matters. Connection, kindness, presence, love. Everything else is noise. But here's the deeper teaching. Buddha's not saying life is short, so party hard, or nothing matters. He's saying life is precious because it's brief. This moment is precious because it won't come again. Right view includes seeing impermanence clearly. Nothing lasts, not the good, not the bad. This flower blooms and wilts. This conversation happens and ends. This breath comes and goes. When you truly understand this, quarreling becomes absurd. Why waste these precious, fleeting moments in conflict? Think of someone you're angry with. Imagine it's their last day, or yours. What matters now? This isn't morbid, it's liberating. Mortality makes life sacred. Every moment becomes a gift you're no longer willing to squander. You're going to die, so live, really live. Let the small stuff go. Choose love. Choose presence. Choose what you'll remember at the end. Teaching 6. The wise judge themselves. A mind beyond harsh judgment observes and understands. Here's where we need to be careful. This teaching is sometimes twisted into good and bad don't exist. That's not Buddhism. Buddha clearly taught ethics, right action, right speech, right livelihood. What Buddha's pointing to is the difference between clear discernment and harsh judgment that fragments us. Discernment says, this action causes suffering. That action reduces suffering. I choose the path of less harm. That's wisdom. Harsh judgment says, I'm bad. I'm unforgivable. I'm broken. Or, they're evil. They're worthless. They're beyond redemption. That's violence against yourself or others. A woman caught in cycles of binge eating spent years trapped, each episode followed by brutal self-hatred, which only made everything worse. A therapist taught her something radical. Notice. You want to eat. Notice the feeling beneath it. Loneliness? Anxiety? Just notice. Don't condemn yourself. When she stopped the internal war, something shifted. She could see clearly, this isn't working. What would? Suddenly, change became possible. The Buddhist framework, actions are kusala, skillful, wholesome, or akusala, unskillful, unwholesome. Not good/evil, but helpful/harmful. This takes away the crushing weight of moral condemnation while keeping ethical clarity. You can observe. I spoke harshly. That caused pain. I want to do better. No self-flagellation needed. Just clear seeing and intention to grow. Right mindfulness operates this way. Aware, but not judging. You're the witness who sees with compassion and clarity. Notice something you usually judge yourself for harshly. Try this. That happened. I'm human. What can I learn? Feel the difference? Understanding arises in the space beyond harsh judgment. That's where transformation lives. Not in shame, but in clear, kind seeing. Teaching 7. The Fool. The fool who knows he's a fool has some wisdom. The fool who thinks himself wise is truly foolish. This is pure Socrates meeting Buddha. Wisdom begins with knowing you don't know. The person convinced of their rightness, their superiority, their having it all figured out, is trapped. They can't learn, can't grow, can't see their blind spots. But the person who says, I don't know, I might be wrong, teach me, that person is already wise. A famous scholar once visited a Zen master, eager to demonstrate his knowledge. The master offered tea and began pouring. He kept pouring as the cup filled, kept pouring as it overflowed, tea spilling everywhere. Stop, the scholar cried. The master smiled. Like this cup, you're too full of opinions. Empty your cup if you want to learn. Buddha taught right view, seeing clearly. But you can't see clearly if you think you already know everything. Beginner's mind is the doorway to wisdom. Here's the tender mercy in this teaching. You don't have to have it all together. Your confusion, your questions, your I don't know, that's not weakness. That's readiness. The ego wants to appear wise, to have answers, to be certain. But true wisdom is comfortable with uncertainty, humble before the mystery of existence. The more you learn, the more you realize how much you don't know. The universe is vast. Your understanding is a candle in an endless night, beautiful, useful, and tiny. Say out loud, I don't know. Feel that. There's relief there, isn't there? Permission to be human, to learn, to grow. The wise fool knows their limits. That knowledge is the beginning of true wisdom. You're not supposed to have all the answers. You're supposed to keep asking better questions. Teaching 8. Equanimity. The wind cannot shake a mountain. Praise and blame do not move the wise person. Equanimity, apeka, in Pali, is one of Buddhism's greatest gifts. It's not cold indifference. It's warm, spacious, unshakable peace. Think about your day. Someone praises you, you soar. Someone criticizes you, you crash. You're a leaf in the wind, blown by every opinion. Exhausting, right? The wise person has found their center. When praise comes, they don't inflate. When blame comes, they don't collapse. They stay rooted, like a mountain in all weather. An artist shared her work online. Half the comments were glowing, half were cruel. She noticed both made her heart race, her hands shake, her mind spiral. "I'm giving strangers control of my peace," she realized. She practiced. "This is just opinion, not truth about my worth." Gradually, the winds stopped moving her. Right view includes understanding. Opinions are conditions arising from someone else's mind, their history, their mood, their biases, not objective reality about you. But here's the deeper teaching. You can't control what others think. You can only control your relationship with their thoughts. The middle way shows up here. Not seeking praise, that's craving. Not fearing blame, that's aversion. Just doing your work, being yourself, letting others think what they think. Remember the last time someone criticized you. Feel that sting? Now imagine it's wind passing around a mountain. The mountain doesn't argue, doesn't defend. It simply is. You can be that mountain. This isn't about becoming hard. It's about becoming rooted in something deeper than external validation, rooted in your own integrity, your own practice, your own heart. The wind will blow. Mountains remain. You can be that steady. Teaching 9. Mindfulness. Whether happiness or sorrow comes, continue your path intact, mindfully aware. There's a misunderstanding we need to clear up. Some interpretations say, observe life like it's happening to someone else. That's not Buddhism. That's dissociation. Buddha taught engaged mindfulness. You're fully in your life, experiencing it completely, but not lost in reactive identification. Think of watching a movie. You cry at sad parts, laugh at funny parts. You're involved. But you don't run onto the screen to save the character. You're present and aware it's a movie. That's how Buddha invites us to live, fully feeling, fully present, but with a quality of awareness that doesn't drown in emotion. A man's father died suddenly. He grieved deeply. Tears, pain, longing, the crushing weight of loss. But underneath, there was awareness. This is grief. This is love expressing itself as loss. This is being human. He wasn't detached from sorrow. He was with it, clearly. Right mindfulness, sama, sati, means continuous, clear awareness while participating in life. You're not above it, outside it, or separate from it. You're in it, awake. When happiness comes, enjoy it fully, knowing it won't last. When sorrow comes, feel it fully, knowing it won't last. Neither defines you. Both pass through. This is anicca, impermanence, lived. Everything arises and passes. You remain, not as a fixed self, but as aware presence. The three marks of existence: impermanence, anicca, all things change; suffering, dukkha, clinging to changing things causes pain; non-self, anatta, no fixed, separate, you exists. Your process, not thing. Right now, notice, you're hearing these words. You're aware. That awareness, that's what Buddha's pointing to. Not separate from experience, but the knowing of experience. Stay on your path, intact. Let life move through you, fully felt, clearly seen. Teaching 10. Freedom from desire. Even in an empty forest, one finds joy, desiring nothing. This teaching needs care. Buddha didn't say, eliminate all desire. He taught about tanha, compulsive craving that causes suffering. The middle way means not clinging desperately to pleasure, not punishing yourself with deprivation. Balance. Natural desires are fine. Hunger for food, desire for connection, wanting to help others. Compulsive craving, never satisfied, always grasping. That's the problem. In an empty forest, there's nothing to acquire, achieve, or possess. Just being. And in that simplicity, unexpected joy arises. Not manufactured happiness, but deep contentment. A woman quit social media for a month. The first days were anxious. What was she missing? What were people saying? Was she being forgotten? Then something shifted. Without constant comparison, consuming, performing, she noticed things. Morning light streaming through her kitchen window, the texture of her own thoughts, the surprising richness of boredom. She felt free. Buddha's teaching: when you stop the endless pursuit of more stuff, status, stimulation, you discover what's always been here, this moment, complete as it is. Right livelihood connects here. Simple living, ethical work, not harming others or yourself in pursuit of wealth. Enough, not excess. But don't mistake this for poverty vows. Buddha tried extreme asceticism and said, it doesn't work. He ate when hungry, rested when tired, taught with compassion. He practiced wise simplicity, not self-punishment. What if, just for today, you didn't need anything to be different? Not permanent, just today. What would that feel like? The empty forest is metaphor for spacious mind, not blank, but uncluttered by constant wanting. In that space, joy naturally arises. You don't have to go live in a forest. You can find this contentment right where you are. Stop grasping. Start being present. The joy is already here, underneath the noise of craving. Teaching 11. Right speech. Better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace. Right speech is the third step of the Eightfold Path, and Buddha was remarkably specific about it. Before you speak, ask yourself 4 questions. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it useful? Is it the right time? If what you're about to say doesn't meet all 4 criteria, consider silence instead. We live in a culture of constant talking, social media captions, text messages, comments on everything, hot takes about news we barely understand. More words than ever in human history. But how many actually bring peace? There's a man who talked incessantly, filling every silence with chatter. He felt lonely despite being surrounded. A friend finally said, "You talk so much, I never get to know you." He realized his words were walls, not bridges. One true word, "I'm scared," "I love you," "I'm sorry," "Thank you," can change everything. It cuts through, lands in the heart, creates connection. Buddha taught that speech creates karma. Words ripple outward, shaping reality. Harsh words create suffering. Kind words create ease. This isn't mystical. It's observable. The practice. Before speaking, pause. Check the 4 criteria. If yes, speak. If no, let it pass. This doesn't mean becoming silent or passive. It means becoming intentional. Your words gain power when you're not wasting them. Today, try speaking 20% less. When you do speak, mean it. Notice what changes. One word that brings peace is worth more than 1,000 that bring noise. Your voice is sacred. Use it wisely. Teaching 12. Self-mastery. Better than conquering thousands in battle is conquering yourself. Then the victory is yours. No one can take it from you. Every external battle is shadow play. The real war is internal, between your habits and your intentions, your conditioning and your consciousness. Buddha identified the real enemies, the 3 poisons: greed, compulsive grasping, wanting more; hatred, aversion, pushing away; anger, delusion, ignorance, not seeing clearly. These are what you're conquering, not other people, your own patterns of suffering. A recovering addict once said, "I had to fight myself every day, the voice saying just once more. Every time I won that battle, I got stronger. That's the only victory that mattered." Alexander the Great conquered nations. Buddha conquered the mind. Guess who found peace? When you master yourself, when you feel anger arise and choose not to lash out, feel craving and choose not to chase it, that's true power. This victory can't be taken. You can lose wealth, health, relationships. But the peace you cultivate internally, the wisdom you develop, the freedom from reactivity, that's yours. Death itself can't steal it. Right effort is the practice, cultivating wholesome states, preventing unwholesome ones. Like gardening your mind, pulling weeds, planting flowers. Next time anger arises, try this. Anger is here. I see you, but I'm choosing differently. That's conquest. Teaching 13. Swift goodness. Be diligent in doing good. If you're slow, the mind, delighting in mischief, will trap you. Buddha understood. The mind tends toward easier paths, and causing harm is often easier than creating good, at least short term. The three poisons want instant gratification. Greed says take it now. Hatred says hurt them first. Delusion says it doesn't matter. But right intention, the second step of the Eightfold Path, is about choosing wholesome motivation, renunciation of harm, goodwill, compassion. Be diligent doesn't mean force yourself frantically. It means don't wait for someday to practice kindness, honesty, generosity. Do it now. The longer you wait, the more old patterns strengthen. A woman spent years meaning to volunteer, help her neighbor, call her lonely mother. Soon, she always thought. Years passed. The opportunities disappeared. She learned, goodness delayed is goodness denied. The mind is tricky. It'll convince you tomorrow is better, that you're not ready, that it doesn't matter. These are delusions keeping you trapped. Karmic truth. Every action creates conditions for future actions. Do good now, it becomes easier next time. Delay good, it becomes harder. But here's the mercy. This isn't about perfection. It's about direction. Each small act of kindness rewires your heart. Right now, think of one small good thing you can do today. Text someone you love. Pick up litter. Speak kindly to yourself. Do it now. Feel how that choice shifts something. The mind's mischief is seductive. Counter it with swift goodness. Not from obligation, from understanding that wholesome action creates wholesome being. Be diligent. Start now. Teaching 14. Universal compassion. All beings tremble before violence. All fear death. All love life. Seeing yourself in others. Harm no one. This is ahimsa, non-violence, at its deepest. Not just don't kill. Don't cause unnecessary suffering to any being. Buddha's insight. There is no other. Not really. That person you dislike, they fear death like you, want happiness like you, love their children like you love yours. Interdependence, pratityasamutpada, is core Buddhist teaching. Nothing exists separately. You're woven into a vast web of connection. Harm to one ripples through all. A man hated his co-worker for years. Then he learned this co-worker was caring for a dying parent, barely sleeping, drowning in medical bills. Everything shifted. The hatred dissolved when he saw their shared humanity. This teaching asks something difficult. See yourself in everyone. The person who cut you off in traffic is rushing somewhere urgent. The difficult family member carries wounds you'll never fully understand. Buddha taught that compassion is our true nature, covered over by fear, greed, the delusion of separation. The golden rule: don't do to others what you don't want done to you. Simple, clear, universal. Karuna, compassion, is one of 4 boundless states Buddha taught. May all beings be free from suffering, not just people you like, all beings, even those who hurt you. This isn't weakness. It's the strongest possible foundation. When you truly see yourself in others, you can't harm without harming yourself. Next time you encounter someone difficult, try this. See them as if they're you, born into different circumstances with different wounds. How would you want to be treated? All beings tremble before violence. All fear death. All love life. Harm no one. Teaching 15. Diligent energy. Like a noble horse, swift beneath the whip, be ardent and swift. Right effort is about balanced energy, not lazy, not frantic, but steady and intelligent. A noble horse doesn't need brutal force. It responds to the lightest touch, understands subtle signals. That's how an awakened being responds to inner wisdom. Immediately, naturally. This is about finding your inner flame, the energy that sustains practice, keeps you moving forward, even when it's hard. Someone spent years ignoring their instincts, overriding inner knowing with what they should do. They were exhausted constantly. Then they started listening to that quiet inner voice, trusting their deepest knowing. Energy returned. Not manic energy, but sustainable vitality. There's a difference between force and flow. Force is ego-driven, pushing, straining, exhausting. Flow is wisdom-driven, moving with reality, responding skillfully. The whip isn't punishment. It's awareness, the gentle but firm reminder to stay present, keep practicing, not drift back into sleepwalking. Urgency without anxiety, diligent without desperate. Understanding life is short, this moment matters, but not attaching frantically to results. Wakefulness requires energy. Staying present takes practice, coming back again and again when you drift. But it shouldn't feel like suffering. It should feel like coming alive. Notice when you're pushing too hard, forcing meditation, forcing goodness, forcing yourself to be spiritual. Notice also when you're not applying enough energy, drifting, avoiding practice, making excuses. Find the middle. Like a noble horse, be responsive to wisdom's lightest touch. Be swift in following what you know is true. Teaching 16. Knowledge versus wisdom. The ignorant person is like an ox, grows in size, not in wisdom. Knowledge is borrowed from others, books, teachers, information constantly flowing in. Wisdom grows within you, earned through living, through practice, through direct experience. You can know everything about Buddhism intellectually and still be trapped in suffering. Or you can know little intellectually but live with profound wisdom, free and at peace. An expert once understood nothing. He'd read every book, could lecture for hours about meditation and enlightenment. His head was full. His heart was empty. He'd never actually practiced, never sat with his own suffering. All that knowledge was like a menu in the hands of a starving person. Panna, wisdom in Pali, is experiential, not conceptual. It's knowing that comes from doing, from being, from transformation. This is why we keep consuming, but stay empty. We're accumulating knowledge, which feels productive, but knowledge without practice is like seeds in a warehouse instead of planted in earth. The ox grows big, but not wise. All that accumulation just makes you heavy, not free. Wisdom comes from practice, from meditation, from ethical living, from paying attention to cause and effect in your own life. It comes from falling down and getting back up, from sitting with discomfort instead of running away. You can know everything about swimming and still drown. Or you can know nothing theoretical but swim beautifully because you've actually practiced. Stop learning for a while. Start experiencing. Take one teaching and live it deeply until it's not something you know, but something you are. Teaching 17. Straighten yourself first. To straighten the crooked, you must do a harder thing. Straighten yourself. The hardest work is always internal. It's easier to focus on others' flaws, to see what's wrong with them. Why do we deflect? Because seeing our own crookedness is painful, threatens our self-image, requires actual change. What you criticize most harshly in others often reflects something in yourself you haven't faced. The person who complains about others' selfishness, look at their own subtle selfishness. It's uncomfortable, but liberating once you see it. Someone spent years blaming the world for their problems. Bad boss, toxic partner, fake friends, always the victim, never responsible. Then life forced them to look inward. They were the common denominator in all these failures. Their defensiveness pushed people away. Their negativity poisoned situations. That seeing was devastating and freeing. Compassionate self-honesty is what's needed. Not brutal self-hatred, but clear, kind seeing. Yes, this is crooked in me. Yes, I can work with this. You can't give what you don't have. If you want peace in the world, cultivate peace in yourself first. Change yourself, and you change the world through the ripple effect. This isn't about perfection before engaging with others' problems. It's about honest self-examination, about taking responsibility for your own crookedness first. When you judge someone today, ask yourself, where is this in me? What am I refusing to see about myself? The work is always closer than you think, always right here, in your own heart, waiting to be straightened. Teaching 18. Source of purity and impurity. Evil is yours, sorrow is yours, yet virtue and purity are also yours. You are the source of all purity and impurity. Everything originates within you. Your happiness, your suffering, your peace, your chaos, all sourced internally, all your responsibility. This is hard because we're trained to look outside for causes. Something went wrong? Find who's to blame. External factors exist, but your response? That's yours. You can't be a flower to yourself and a thorn to others. What you cultivate internally expresses externally. Someone spent decades blaming externally for every problem. Then something cracked open. They looked inward and saw. Their anger was theirs, arising from unexamined pain. Their suffering was theirs, created by resistance to reality. Once they owned that, change became possible. Anatta, non-self, doesn't mean no responsibility. It means absolute responsibility. You're a process, constantly creating yourself through choices, through practice, through how you respond. There's freedom in ownership. If you created this state, you can change it. If suffering sources from within, you have access to the cure. But here's the balance: self-responsibility and acknowledging interdependence. You're not isolated. You're interconnected, influenced, and influencing. Context matters, but your response is yours. This state you're in right now, what are you cultivating? What are you feeding with your attention, your thoughts, your choices? You are the source, not the only cause, but the source of how you meet life, how you respond, who you become. That's terrifying and liberating all at once. Teaching 19. Living in reality. Do not live in distraction, in false dreams, outside the way. Distraction is the modern disease. Constant stimulation, Phones buzzing, screens glowing, noise everywhere, never genuine stillness. Past and future are mental prisons where most spend most of their time rehashing what happened, wishing it had gone differently, or projecting into what might happen, planning, worrying, fantasizing. Meanwhile, the only thing that's real, this moment, slips past unlived. False dreams are fantasies we hide in, projections we use to avoid reality, stories we tell instead of facing what's actually here. Someone lived years anywhere but the present. At work, thinking about home. At home, thinking about work. With their kids, mentally planning tomorrow. Never here, never now, never actually in their life. Then their child asked, "Why do you never look at me?" That pierced through. They stopped, really looked, saw what they'd been missing. Life, happening right in front of them. Don't live through mind's interpretations. Live through direct experience. Feel the air on your skin now. Hear actual sounds. Notice breath moving. That's reality. Everything else is story. This doesn't mean abandoning thinking or planning. It means using mind skillfully, thinking when thinking is needed, then returning to presence. Sati, mindfulness, means present moment, awareness, not living in your head about life, but in life itself. Real life is here, not in your head about here. One breath practice, just this breath, fully experienced. That's all. That's everything. Notice when you're not here. Gently return. Teaching 20. Living by the Dharma. Govern yourself according to the Dharma. This is the simple teaching of the awakened. Dharma means natural law, truth, the way things are. Not religious commandments, but observable reality about how suffering works and how freedom becomes possible. The river is already flowing to the ocean. Don't fight the current. Simply work with it. This isn't about being passive, giving up, accepting everything without discernment. It's about intelligently working with reality rather than exhausting yourself, fighting what cannot be changed. An exhausted swimmer learned to float instead of fighting waves. Suddenly, the ocean carried them. That's the difference between surrender and giving up. One is wisdom, one is defeat. Living in harmony with truth rather than resistance requires seeing clearly what can be changed and what cannot. Accept what can't be changed. Change what can. Wisdom, to know the difference. The middle way shows up here. Not forcing reality to be different. Not collapsing into helplessness. Balanced response. Working skillfully with what is. Trust natural unfolding while taking right action. Plant seeds, water them, provide conditions for growth, then trust the process. You can't force flowers to bloom by pulling on them. Where are you fighting reality? What if you worked with it instead? The Dharma is the way things actually work. Live according to that, and life becomes simpler, clearer, more peaceful. Fight it, and you create unnecessary suffering. This is the simple teaching Buddha left. See reality clearly, respond wisely, reduce suffering. That's all. That's everything. Teaching 21. Conscious desire. Those who follow the way realize their desires joyfully. Desire isn't the enemy. Unconscious desire is. There's a crucial distinction Buddha made that often gets lost. Tanha, craving in Pali, is compulsive, desperate grasping that never satisfies, always demands more. That's suffering's engine. But natural, wholesome desires, desire for connection, for growth, for contributing, those aren't problems. Waking up means choosing consciously what to pursue, rather than being driven unconsciously by conditioning, by fear, by endless hunger that can never be filled. The future is a mental trap, always planning, always preparing, always living for when things will finally be right. Meanwhile, now, the only reality passes by, unlived. Someone spent years chasing tomorrow. When I get the promotion, then I'll be happy. When I find the right partner, then I'll relax. Tomorrow never came because tomorrow never comes. It's always today, always now. Then something shifted. They realized the chasing was the problem, not the solution. Understanding craving's nature changes everything. It's never satisfied, always grasping for the next thing, convinced that this will finally be enough. But enough never arrives through accumulation. You can desire connection without clinging desperately to people. You can desire growth without constantly feeling inadequate. You can desire to serve without needing validation. Notice the difference in your own experience. There's wanting something. I'd like that. That would be nice. And there's craving. I need that. I can't be okay without it. One is spacious. One is desperate. Realize your desires joyfully means pursue what calls to you while remaining free, while staying grounded in now. Teaching 22. Inner peace. Live in joy and peace, even among the troubled. You can't change the world's chaos, at least not directly, but you can find your own peace regardless of external circumstances. This isn't isolation, isn't building walls and pretending suffering doesn't exist. It's wise boundaries combined with genuine compassion, feeling others' pain without drowning in it. There's a person who remained calm during a family crisis when everyone else was panicking. Not because they didn't care. They cared deeply, but they'd cultivated such inner stability that they became an anchor for others. Their peace was their greatest gift in that moment. Inner wealth versus outer wealth. What really matters? All the money, status, possessions in the world can't give you peace if you're turbulent internally. Karuna, compassion, for those suffering is essential, part of the path Buddha taught. But compassion without wisdom leads to drowning alongside those you're trying to help. Your peace isn't selfish or cold. It's actually the most generous thing you can offer. A calm person in a crisis helps everyone. This isn't about being unaffected by life. It's about not being controlled by external chaos, not losing yourself every time circumstances shift. Maintaining practice even when others aren't. Maintaining your center even when everyone around you is losing theirs. That takes commitment. Sangha, community, matters immensely. We need each other, support each other, practice together, but your peace is internal, yours to cultivate regardless of who's around you. Find one moment of peace today, regardless of circumstances. Maybe 3 breaths taken consciously. Maybe watching steam rise from your coffee. One moment where you touch that stillness that's always available beneath the noise. Teaching 23. Freedom through release. Free yourself from attachments. Upadana, attachment, clinging, is suffering's root, according to Buddha's teaching. Not love, not care, not connection, but desperate grasping that says, I must have this, I can't survive without this. Things change. That's anicca, impermanence. People leave, people die, people change into someone you don't recognize. Plans fail, dreams dissolve, certainties crumble. That's not punishment. That's simply how reality works. Giving love freely without expectation or demand is one of the hardest and most liberating practices. Love because loving feels good, because it opens your heart, not because you need something back. Someone told me about a heartbreak that became their teacher. A relationship ended suddenly, painfully, leaving them shattered. For months they held on, to hope of reunion, to anger, to the story of how it should have been. Then one day they let go, not because they stopped caring, but because they saw the clinging was creating far more suffering than the actual loss. And in letting go, they discovered the love was still there, but free now, spacious, no longer twisted into pain by desperate need to possess. This isn't coldness or indifference. It's mature, spacious love, the kind that wants the best for someone, even if that doesn't include you. The difference between love and attachment is freedom. Love frees. It wants the beloved to flourish. Attachment imprisons. It needs the beloved to stay exactly as you want them. Enjoying without grasping. Being with without clinging. Imagine holding sand in your hand. Hold it gently. You can keep some. Squeeze tight, desperately trying to hold every grain, and it all escapes through your fingers. Grief is natural when you lose something or someone you love. Buddha never said don't feel grief, but clinging to what's gone, refusing to accept what is, demanding reality be different, that creates suffering, that outlasts and overshadows natural grief. What are you clinging to right now? Can you hold it more lightly? Not abandoning it, not pretending you don't care, but loosening that desperate grip just a little. Freedom lives in that loosening, in that willingness to let things be as they are, to let life unfold without your constant control. Teaching 24. Transform negativity. With goodness, overcome anger. With generosity, overcome meanness. With truth, overcome deceit. This is practical alchemy, transformation at its most basic and profound. Metta, loving kindness, doesn't suppress hatred or pretend it doesn't exist. It transforms it by meeting it with something incompatible with its nature. Generosity is the antidote to greed, to that tight-fisted clinging that never feels like enough. Open your hand, give something away, and suddenly the scarcity mentality loses its grip. Truth dispels delusion like light dispels darkness, not by fighting it, but by simply being present. This isn't about suppressing negative tendencies, pretending they're not there. It's about genuine transformation through practice, through repeatedly choosing the wholesome until it becomes natural. Someone broke a cycle that had run in their family for generations. Anger met with anger, violence meeting violence, each generation carrying forward wounds and passing them to the next. Then this person chose differently. When anger arose, and it did, constantly, the conditioning was deep. They paused, breathed, chose kindness, even when kindness felt impossible. It took years, but the cycle broke. Society conditions us toward negativity more than we realize. News designed to frighten and anger us. Social media algorithms that amplify outrage. Economic systems that depend on manufactured scarcity. You have to wake up to this, see it clearly, and consciously choose differently. Small daily alchemy transforms everything over time. One kind word when you want to be cruel. One generous act when you want to hoard. One truth told when lying would be easier. These aren't dramatic. They're ordinary moments where you have a choice. This isn't fake positivity that denies reality or invalidates genuine suffering. It's genuine transformation through understanding that each wholesome action weakens unwholesome tendencies, strengthens wholesome ones. Counter one negative tendency with its opposite today. Feel anger arising. Try kindness, even just in your mind. Notice greed, that grasping, wanting more. Give something away, however small. Caught in deception, hiding truth. Speak one honest thing, however difficult. You're not fighting the negative, you're feeding the positive until it's stronger, more natural, more you than those old patterns ever were. Teaching 25, Masters of Body, Heart of Wisdom. The wise harm no one. They are masters of their bodies and go beyond sorrow to the place without limits. Panna, wisdom, is different from knowledge, fundamentally different. Knowledge is information, facts, things you can recite. Wisdom is understanding, integration, lived truth that changes how you move through the world. Masters of body doesn't mean domination or control, forcing the body into submission. It means sila, ethical conduct, and mindful action, living in harmony with this body-mind rather than at war with it. The place without limits is nirvana in Buddhist teaching, not a place you go after death, but freedom from suffering available in this life, in this body, through this practice. Someone found freedom through understanding, not force. For years they'd tried to control everything, their body through punishing exercise and restrictive eating, their mind through forced meditation and spiritual aggression. They were exhausted, miserable, nowhere near peace. Then they learned a different way, working with their nature instead of against it, treating themselves with compassion, understanding that transformation happens through kindness, not cruelty. That shift changed everything. Beyond sorrow doesn't mean you never feel sad, never grieve, never experience pain. It means you're not trapped by sorrow, not identified with it, not imprisoned in it. Living ethically naturally leads to peace. Not because you're earning points or following rules to avoid punishment, but because harmful actions create suffering and wholesome actions create ease. That's observable, testable, true in your own experience, if you pay attention. Harm no one includes yourself, maybe especially yourself. Self-compassion isn't weakness or self-indulgence. It's essential foundation for genuine practice, for sustained transformation, for actually being able to help others. Integration of wisdom, ethics, and mental discipline, that's the complete path Buddha taught. Not just meditation alone, not just being a good person alone, not just understanding alone. All three woven together, supporting each other, creating conditions for freedom. How can you care for your body with wisdom, not control? What would it mean to be master, not tyrant, but wise steward of this body that carries you through life? Listen to it, respect its limits, nourish it appropriately, rest when rest is needed, move when movement calls, Treat it kindly, this temporary vehicle for your practice. Teaching 26. Death Awareness. You are like a withered leaf. The messengers of death are near. You stand at the door of departure. Have you your provisions for the journey? Maranasati, death meditation, is one of Buddha's most powerful wake-up calls. Not to frighten, not to depress, but to clarify, to cut through the fog of distraction and denial. Birth and death bookend every life, and between them, only death is certain. You don't know when, you don't know how, but you know it's coming. That's not morbid, that's realistic. The yellow leaf represents life's autumn, that season when you realize time is actually limited, that you're mortal, that this won't go on forever. What matters between birth and death really matters, stripped of all pretense. This teaching isn't about fear, though fear might arise when you first face mortality honestly. It's about clarity, the brilliant clarity that comes when you stop pretending you have infinite time. Someone woke up in time. They'd spent years on autopilot, living by default rather than choice, pursuing things they didn't actually care about, because that's what people do. Then a health scare made death real. They realized, I could die having never really lived, having never done what matters, having spent my entire existence on trivial pursuits. Everything changed after that. They started living with intention, with presence, with clear sense of what mattered and what didn't. What will you carry when you leave? Only wisdom, only love, only whatever understanding and compassion you've developed. Everything else stays behind. Provisions for the journey means ethical conduct, wisdom, compassion, developed now, in this life, through how you live each day. That's what makes the difference between dying with regrets and dying at peace. Impermanence makes everything precious. This conversation won't happen again exactly this way. This day, this moment, this breath, all unique, all irreplaceable, all fleeting. If today were your last, what would matter? Would that argument seem important? Would you spend hours scrolling mindlessly? Would you hold back from saying I love you? Live from that clarity, not just when death is near, but now, today, always. Let mortality teach you how to live, not how to fear. Teaching 27. Healthy solitude. The traveler walks alone, not entangled with householders, nor wanderers, wanting nothing, at peace, in solitude. Balance between solitude and sangha, community, is essential. Buddha taught both, emphasized both, made community one of the three jewels. But he also honored solitude, recognized its necessity. Walks alone doesn't mean literal isolation. cutting yourself off from all human contact. It means taking responsibility for your own path, your own practice, your own liberation. Not entangled doesn't mean not connected or not caring. It means healthy independence, able to be with others without losing yourself, able to connect deeply without desperate clinging. Someone learned to be with themselves before they could truly be with others. Years of constantly needing people around, terrified of being alone, filling every silence with noise and distraction. Then circumstances forced solitude, a period of being alone with no escape, initially terrifying, eventually liberating. They discovered themselves in that solitude, learned their own mind, found they actually enjoyed their own company. When they reconnected with others, the quality was completely different, no longer desperate or needy, but free and genuine. Solitude is a tool, not the goal. You're not practicing to escape life or relationships or the world. You're practicing to engage more fully, more skillfully, more freely. Buddha established Sangha as essential because we do need each other. We need support, accountability, shared practice, the wisdom of those further along the path. Wanting nothing means not dependent on external validation, not requiring constant reassurance, not needing reality to conform to your preferences before you can be at peace. Comfortable in your own company, you can connect authentically with others. Uncomfortable with yourself, you'll use others to escape that discomfort, which isn't connection, it's distraction. Spend time alone without distraction. No phone, no music, no books, just you and silence. What arises? What do you discover when there's nothing to hide behind? That's where practice deepens, where you meet yourself directly, where transformation happens. Teaching 28. Right livelihood and love. Live in love. Do your work. Make an end to sorrow. Love as container for all action. Metta, infusing daily life. Not just meditation practice, but every interaction, every choice, every moment. Your work means right livelihood, the fifth step of the Eightfold Path. Ethical, meaningful contribution that doesn't harm others, that serves rather than exploits. This isn't assigned by the universe or handed down by fate. It's chosen by you, discovered through attention to what calls, what matters, what aligns with your deepest values. Find work that doesn't harm, doesn't exploit people, doesn't destroy environments, doesn't profit from suffering, doesn't require you to compromise your integrity. Work that serves others in some way. Work that uses your particular gifts, whatever they are. Someone spent decades in a career that paid well but drained their life away, made them complicit in things they didn't believe in. Everyone said they were successful. They felt dead inside. Then they made a change. Less money, less status, but aligned with their values. using their gifts to serve something they believed in. The relief was profound. Work done with love transforms from mere survival into service, from obligation into offering. Not that you always love every task. Some things are just hard or boring, but the container is love. The motivation is love. The direction is toward less suffering. Make an end to sorrow through ethical living, through loving action, through work that aligns with wisdom. Not perfection, direction toward less suffering, toward more freedom, toward genuine help rather than harm. Integration of love, right action, and wisdom creates peace. Not separate domains, spiritual life here, work life there, but seamless, unified, whole. How can you bring more love to your work today? Not fake enthusiasm or forced positivity, but genuine care, real presence, actual kindness toward whoever you encounter, whatever you're doing. Teaching 29. Inner guidance. The path is not in the sky. The path is in the heart. Stop seeking outside yourself. Stop looking for the guru who will save you, the teaching that will fix you, the external solution to your internal experience. Don't follow gurus who claim to be the way, the truth, the only path to liberation. They can point, they can teach, they can share what they've learned, but they can't walk your path for you. Trust your deepest knowing, that inner wisdom that speaks quietly beneath all the noise and conditioning. Not your preferences or fears, your actual wisdom, developed through practice, through ethical living, through paying attention. Right view, the first step of the Eightfold Path, is developed through your own practice, not borrowed from books or teachers. Yes, learn from others, study teachings, receive guidance, but then test everything in your own experience. Someone stopped following and started living their truth. Years of looking for the perfect teacher, the perfect tradition, the perfect practice that would finally bring peace. Jumping from one thing to another, always disappointed when it didn't deliver instant enlightenment. Then they realized the seeking was the problem. They stopped, turned inward, started trusting what they actually knew, what actually worked in their own life. Peace came not from finding the perfect external thing, but from coming home to themselves. Buddha himself said, "Don't accept my teachings on blind faith. Test them like you test gold, through examination, through experience, through seeing if they actually reduce suffering." That's remarkably radical for a religious teacher. This isn't about eternal consciousness or permanent self. Buddha explicitly rejected that idea. It's about trusting present awareness, this capacity to see clearly and respond wisely that you're developing through practice. Everything arises from within: clarity and confusion, peace and suffering, wisdom and delusion. External circumstances trigger things, yes, but your response is internal, yours, your responsibility, and your power. Coming home to yourself means no more seeking, no more looking elsewhere for what's right here. Not complacency. You still practice, still learn, still grow, but from centeredness rather than desperation. Ask your heart, not your head. What do you truly know? Not what you've been told, but what you actually know from living, from practicing, from paying attention to your own experience. Teaching 30. Awakening this life. All things arise and pass away, but the awakened awaken forever. Two ways to live: falling or growing, reactive or conscious, asleep or awake. Falling is easy because everything pulls you down. Gravity, society, conditioning, the momentum of old patterns, the pressure to conform. Just let go, stop trying, give in, and you'll fall. Growing requires effort, requires swimming upstream, requires being different, requires choosing consciousness again and again, even when unconsciousness would be easier. Someone chose to wake up, not in one dramatic moment, that's movie version, but in thousands of small moments, each one a choice between the old way and a new way. Chose to pause before reacting, chose to notice their thoughts rather than being carried away, chose kindness when anger arose, chose presence when distraction called. Slowly, through accumulated choices, they transformed completely. Forever in this teaching doesn't mean eternal consciousness, continuing after death. Buddha explicitly taught no permanent self exists. Anatta, non-self, is one of the three marks of existence. Forever means wisdom, once truly understood, can't be lost. You can't unknow what you've genuinely learned through practice. Nirvana is cessation of suffering in this life, not a metaphysical state after death. It's freedom from craving, from hatred, from delusion, available now, through practice, through the Eightfold Path. Everyone has Buddha nature, potential to awaken, not a gift granted by gods, not fate determined by karma from past lives, but capacity inherent in being human, developed through practice and ethical living. Consciousness is process, not thing, constantly changing, arising, and passing like everything else. No eternal self to preserve, no permanent consciousness to protect. Just this ongoing process of awareness that you can train, refine, liberate through practice. Choose growth today, one conscious choice at a time. Notice, when you're reacting unconsciously, pause, breathe, choose differently. That's awakening happening right there, in that moment, in that choice. All things arise and pass away, including you, including this life, including everything you think you are. But the awakened, those who see clearly, who live consciously, who've understood suffering and its end, they awaken forever. Not because they continue eternally, but because wisdom, once realized, is indestructible. Teaching 31. Unhurried path. If you determine your path with force or haste, you miss the way. Force and hurry are ego's signature moves, grasping for control, demanding results, pushing and straining against reality, because reality isn't moving fast enough. The middle way shows up clearly here, not forcing, not passive, but balanced effort. Not giving up and drifting, but not bulldozing your way through either. Someone spent years rushing through life, always on to the next thing, never satisfied with where they were. They were exhausted, stressed, ironically getting less done because they were moving too fast to move well. Then something forced them to slow down. An illness, a breakdown, life saying enough. In that slowing, they discovered something unexpected. They accomplished more, enjoyed more, lived more by doing less, by moving at a sustainable pace. Beauty requires presence. Rush past it, and you miss it entirely. The sunset, the conversation, the moment of connection, all gone if you're already on to the next thing. Domination versus flow. One works against reality, the other works with it. Domination says, I'll force reality to change through sheer will. Flow says, I'll work skillfully within reality, responding rather than demanding. Ego wants results now, immediately, yesterday, if possible. Wisdom is patient with process, understanding that transformation takes time, that rushing actually slows things down. You can't force awakening, can't force peace, can't force wisdom. They unfold naturally when conditions are right, when practice is consistent, when you stop trying to control and start allowing. You have permission to take your time with this practice. This isn't a race with a finish line. This is lifelong practice, lifelong journey, with no destination except this moment. Where are you forcing right now? What if you eased up just a little? What if you let things unfold at their own pace? The way reveals itself when you stop forcing, when you slow down enough to see it. Teaching 32. Tranquil observation. Consider calmly what is right and wrong. Accept all views equally, without haste. Wisely observe the way. This isn't about relativism, about abandoning ethics or discernment. It's about calm discernment rather than reactive judgment. Accepting all views equally means listening without immediately categorizing, dismissing, or fighting. It means being open enough to understand before you judge. Skillful, kusala, versus unskillful, akusala, is Buddha's framework, considered calmly rather than in heated reaction. Does this action lead to suffering or freedom? Does this speech create harm or ease? These are questions for calm investigation, not snap judgments made in anger or fear. Someone spent years fighting reality, arguing with what is, constantly taking sides in their own internal battles. This is wrong, that's right, this shouldn't be happening. Exhausting, endless war with the present moment. Then they learned to stop fighting, to observe calmly instead of reacting constantly. Peace came not from everything being perfect, but from meeting imperfection calmly. Being witness and participant simultaneously, engaged but not entangled, involved but not drowning, feeling fully while seeing clearly. Don't take sides in your own life means stop fighting yourself. Stop creating internal wars where one part of you battles another part. Just observe the patterns clearly without making them mean something terrible about who you are. This isn't coldness or indifference. It's spacious awareness. Warm, open, clear, but not reactive, not immediately jumping to conclusions. Acceptance doesn't equal approval. You can see clearly what is without saying it should be that way. You can acknowledge reality without condoning harmful actions. Wisdom emerges from calm observation, not from reactive judgment made in the heat of emotion. Pause, observe, let clarity emerge naturally. Before reacting to something today, pause. Observe without immediately rushing to conclusion. Notice your impulse to judge, to categorize, to make it mean something. Then see if you can hold it lightly, calmly, observing, without reactive judgment. Teaching 33. 3 Foundations. Be still, loving, and without fear. 3 foundations, 3 pillars, 3 essential qualities Buddha pointed to again and again. Stillness feeds insight. Silence creates the space where wisdom can emerge, where the constant mental chatter quiets enough for you to hear what's beneath it. Metta, love, loving kindness, fundamentally shifts the center from self-concern to care for all beings, dissolving the tight knot of self-centeredness that creates so much suffering. Fearlessness comes from understanding, from seeing clearly, from recognizing that fear is often rooted in misunderstanding about what's actually happening, what's actually at stake. Stillness means meditation, yes, but also moments of quiet throughout your day, spaciousness in your schedule, permission to not always be doing, producing, achieving. Love means extending goodwill to all beings, not just people you like, but genuinely wishing well-being for everyone you encounter, including those who hurt you, including yourself. Without fear doesn't mean never feeling fear. That's human, inevitable, natural. It means not being controlled by anxiety, not letting fear drive your decisions, not living in constant worry about what might happen. Someone found all three, and their life transformed utterly. They'd been anxious, scattered, defensive, moving through life in constant, low-level panic. Through practice, they found stillness in meditation, cultivated love through metta practice, discovered that fear lost its grip when they saw clearly. Not overnight, years of patient practice, but gradually, undeniably, everything shifted. This isn't about never feeling fear. It's about not being driven by it, not making all your decisions based on avoiding what scares you. Love softens the tight fist of self-protection, that clenched, defended, guarded way of moving through the world that exhausts you and isolates you simultaneously. Trinity of practice: still mind, loving heart, fearless action. All three support each other. Stillness helps you access love. Love dissolves fear. Fearlessness allows deeper stillness. Find stillness first, even just a few breaths. In that stillness, love arises more naturally. As love grows, fear dissolves, because fear is fundamentally about protecting a separate self, and love reveals there's no separate self to protect. Teaching 34: Silence and Consciousness. Silence alone does not make a master. There's a common misconception that spirituality equals silence, that the quiet person is automatically wise, that not speaking means enlightenment. Silence is a tool, not the goal. Quiet mind doesn't automatically equal wisdom. You need more than just absence of noise. You need presence of awareness, clarity of seeing, understanding of truth. Consciousness, awareness itself, is the key. Clear seeing, not just quiet being. You become a better witness through silence because the noise stops obscuring what you're trying to see. But witnessing requires awareness, not just the absence of thought or speech. There are silent fools and wise speakers. Someone can be quiet because they have nothing to say, because they're confused, because they're checked out. Another person can speak and reveal profound understanding, can use words skillfully to teach, to connect, to illuminate. Words matter less than understanding. You can be silent and deeply confused, sitting in meditation, with mind spinning in circles, lost in fantasy or worry, despite the external quiet. You can speak and be completely clear, using right speech to express truth, to help someone understand. What actually transforms you is right view, right intention, right mindfulness, seeing clearly, choosing wisely, staying present. Silence helps create conditions for these, but silence alone doesn't create them. Silence helps meditation by reducing external stimulation, by creating space where insight can emerge. But insight is what frees, not just quiet. Understanding liberates, not just stillness. Integration is needed. Silence plus ethics plus wisdom. Not just sitting quietly while living harmfully. Not just being peaceful while remaining ignorant. All three woven together. In silence, cultivate awareness. Notice what's actually there, rather than spacing out or drifting. What thoughts arise? What sensations are present? What patterns reveal themselves when the noise stops? Silence creates opportunity for awareness to sharpen, for seeing to clarify, for understanding to deepen. But you have to actively engage with what silence reveals. The master is made not by silence, but by consciousness, operating in silence, and in speech, in stillness, and in action. Teaching 35. Liberation through meditation. Look within, the rising and the falling. How blessed, how peaceful, freedom. Vipassana, insight meditation, is about observing directly what's actually happening, arising and passing, appearance and disappearance, coming into being and dissolving. Descending into depths means turning attention inward, examining the actual mechanics of your experience, how sensations arise, how thoughts form, how emotions move through you. Then returning with clarity, with understanding earned through direct observation. Freedom comes through seeing impermanence directly, not just understanding it intellectually. Watching breath arise and pass, watching sensations appear and dissolve, watching thoughts form and dissipate, over and over, until you can't avoid the truth. Nothing stays, nothing is solid. Someone's first meditation breakthrough came after months of practice. Suddenly they saw it clearly, everything shifting, constantly changing, no solid self anywhere to be found, just this flow of experience, arising and passing. Terrifying and liberating simultaneously, the self they'd been defending so carefully didn't actually exist in the way they'd thought. Joy in liberation, tasting freedom from reactivity. When you see clearly that everything passes, you stop grasping so desperately, stop resisting so violently, stop identifying so completely. That brings profound relief, unexpected peace. Rising and falling, breath moving in and out, sensations appearing and disappearing, thoughts arising and passing, emotions swelling and subsiding, all of it constantly changing, nothing static, nothing permanent. Anicca, impermanence, experienced directly through your own observation, not just understood as interesting philosophical concept. This is the difference between knowing about freedom and tasting it. This is an invitation to try meditation, gently, with patience. Find guidance if possible, a teacher, a class, a reputable resource. Start small, 5 minutes a day, just observing breath, noticing when attention wanders, gently returning. This isn't escape from reality, It's clear seeing of reality, of what's actually here, beneath your stories and preferences and resistance. Sit quietly for a few minutes today. Notice rising and falling of breath, of sensation in your body, of sounds around you. Just notice, without trying to change anything, without judging what you find. That's the practice. Simple, profound, transformative when sustained. Teaching 36. The Shining Way. All things arise and pass. Once you see this, you are above sorrow. This is the shining way. Everything changes. Good times and bad times, pleasure and pain, success and failure, connection and loss, all of it arising and passing like waves on an ocean. You can be both spectator and participant, feeling fully while seeing clearly, engaged with life while understanding its nature. Not detached observer floating above it all, but involved participant who sees what's actually happening beneath the surface drama. Today's joy becomes tomorrow's memory, vivid and real right now, then gone, replaced by something else. Let it be that way. Don't cling to joy, trying to make it permanent. Don't resist sorrow, trying to make it disappear faster. Someone learned to surf the waves rather than fighting them. For years they'd tried to hold on to good times, make them last forever, and push away bad times, make them end immediately. Exhausting and futile, reality kept changing, regardless of their preferences. Then they learned different relationship with change. Feel it fully. Let it move. Don't grasp. Don't resist. Life became surprisingly peaceful despite still containing both joy and sorrow. Rising above sorrow doesn't mean you don't feel sadness. Don't grieve losses. Don't experience pain when painful things happen. It means you're not trapped by sorrow, not drowning in it, not identified with it as your permanent state. The shining way is seeing impermanence clearly and living with grace because of that seeing, not despite it. Grace comes from not fighting reality's fundamental nature, from working with change rather than against it. This isn't detachment or coldness. It's wise relationship with change, appreciating good moments without clinging, moving through difficult moments without resistance. Grief happens when you lose something precious. Joy happens when something beautiful appears. Neither is permanent. Neither should be made into permanent state through desperate clinging or violent resistance. Freedom lives in knowing deeply, this too shall pass. The good, the bad, the difficult, the beautiful, all temporary, all changing, all arising and passing away like everything else. Notice one thing changing right now as you listen. Maybe the weather outside your window. Maybe your mood or energy level. Maybe a thought moving through your mind. See that? Everything's like that. Temporary, shifting, impermanent. That's not depressing. That's the shining way, the path that glows with understanding, that illuminates the nature of all experience, that frees you from the suffering that comes from trying to make the temporary permanent. Teaching 37. The Luminous Path. Existence includes sorrow. Understand this and go beyond grief. This is the luminous path. This is the first noble truth Buddha taught. Dukkha, suffering, dissatisfaction, is part of life. Was, not pessimism, not saying life is only suffering or that nothing good ever happens. Just realistic assessment. Existence includes pain, loss, disappointment, aging, sickness, death, not getting what you want, getting what you don't want, losing what you love. Existing means experiencing these things, not as punishment, not because you did something wrong, just because that's how existence works when you're a being in a body, in time, with relationships and circumstances constantly changing. Attachment to impermanent things creates suffering, not the things themselves, not the caring about them, but the desperate clinging that says they must not change, must not leave, must remain exactly as they are forever. Someone spent years fighting the reality of sorrow, thinking if they just tried hard enough, if they were just good enough, they could avoid all pain. That fight created more suffering than the actual sorrows they were trying to avoid. When they finally stopped fighting, accepted that existence includes sorrow, paradoxically found peace. Enjoying without grasping, loving without clinging desperately. This is what Buddha taught. Be with people, love them fully, and simultaneously understand they're temporary. Everything is temporary. Nothing lasts. Simply living means being present with what is pleasant or unpleasant, wanted or unwanted, comfortable or uncomfortable, without the extra layer of suffering that comes from demanding reality be different. Beyond grief doesn't mean no sadness ever arises. It means you're not trapped by sadness, not defined by it, not convinced it's permanent or that something's wrong because you feel it. Understanding suffering's cause illuminates the path out, not by avoiding all pain, impossible while alive, but by stopping the extra suffering created by clinging, by resistance, by demanding that temporary things be permanent. When suffering arises today, try naming it. This is dukkha. Just that simple recognition. This is the suffering Buddha talked about. This is part of existence. This is normal, not abnormal, can reduce its power significantly. The luminous path glows with this understanding. Existence includes sorrow, and you can be at peace with that. You can move through it without being destroyed by it. You can accept it as part of the package without letting it consume you. Teaching 38. Master your words. Master your words. Right speech is the third step of the Eightfold Path. True, kind, useful, timely. Before speaking, Check all four. If it meets the criteria, speak. If not, silence might be wiser. Your mind is full of words, constantly chattering, commenting, narrating, judging, planning, mostly unnecessary, mostly just noise, creating more noise. Words have enormous power to heal or harm, to create connection or division, to illuminate or confuse. You know this from your own experience. One kind word changed your day. One cruel word haunted you for years. Be concrete, telegraphic. When you speak, say what's actually needed, not everything that could be said. Someone learned to speak less and found they communicated more effectively. For years they'd filled every silence, explained everything multiple times, talked when nervous or uncomfortable. Then they practiced pausing, listening, speaking only when they had something worth saying. Relationships improved. People listened more carefully. Their words carried more weight. Silence is often more powerful than speech. The pause before responding, the space that lets someone else's words land, the restraint that chooses not to add to noise when noise isn't needed. Words create karma, create consequences, ripple outward in ways you can't fully track or control. Harsh words create suffering that spreads like ripples on water. Kind words create ease that spreads the same way. Practice restraint. Think before speaking. Pause before reacting. Consider whether words will help or harm before releasing them into the world. This isn't about suppression, about never expressing yourself, about becoming silent and passive. It's about intention, speaking when speech serves, being silent when silence serves, choosing consciously rather than reacting automatically. Before speaking today, pause for just one breath. Ask, is this necessary? Is it true? Is it kind? Is it useful? Is this the right time? If yes to all, speak clearly. If no to any, consider staying silent. Teaching 39. Master your thoughts. Master your thoughts. Thoughts are chaotic by nature, coming and going without particular order, arising from causes you didn't choose, moving through your mind like clouds moving through sky. Right mindfulness means observing thoughts without being controlled by them, watching them arise and pass without believing every one, without following wherever they lead. You are not your thoughts. This is crucial to understand. You're the awareness that notices thoughts, the space in which thoughts appear and disappear, but not the thoughts themselves. Learning to disconnect from thought stream is a meditation skill that develops through practice. At first, you're caught in every thought, carried away constantly. Gradually, you learn to observe thoughts without being swept away by them. Someone was trapped by anxious thoughts for years, spiraling worries about future disasters, repetitive fears about what might go wrong, constant mental rehearsal of worst-case scenarios. Exhausting, frightening, inescapable, until they learn to observe thoughts rather than believe them automatically. The thoughts still arose. That's what minds do, but they stopped being in charge, stopped determining mood and behavior, stopped feeling like absolute truth. Thoughts are conditioned and impersonal, arising from causes, your history, your biology, your current state, circumstances around you. They're not messages from your deepest self, not always true, not commands to be obeyed. Vipassana, insight meditation, includes seeing thoughts arise and pass, watching the process without identifying with content, recognizing there's no solid thinker behind thoughts, just thinking, happening. Meditation teaches you to let thoughts arise and pass, without feeding them attention and energy that keeps them going. Clear mind, not empty mind, spacious and calm, not blank and absent. Thoughts still arise, but they don't clutter everything, don't consume all available attention, don't control your state. Notice thoughts without following them, like watching clouds pass, without climbing aboard and flying away with them. Thought arises, you notice it, it passes. Another thought arises, you notice it, it passes. That's the practice, simple and transformative. Teaching 40, Death's Lesson. Death surprises the person who, distracted by the world, cares only for their flock and children. Death sweeps them away like a flood destroys a sleeping village. Living distracted means missing what actually matters while you're consumed by what doesn't. Then death comes suddenly, and you realize too late that you never really lived. Small ego-driven concerns consume attention. Looking good, accumulating things, winning approval, avoiding embarrassment, maintaining image. These things feel important in the moment, but reveal themselves as trivial when death approaches. Generally, people aren't really living. They're just breathing, just existing, just going through motions on autopilot, never fully present, never fully awake. You must live alert, focused on what's actually important, paying attention to what will matter when you look back, investing energy in what's real, rather than what's merely urgent or distracting. Someone woke up before death came, and that waking transformed everything. A health scare, a close call, something that made mortality suddenly real, rather than abstract. They looked at how they'd been living, small, fearful, distracted, wasting precious time on things that didn't matter, and changed course immediately. Started living with intention, with presence, with clear priorities, based on what actually mattered to them. Know what your being truly wants, not what you think you should want, not what others want for you, but what calls to you from your deepest place. Then move toward that, however slowly, however imperfectly. Otherwise, you reach the end with nothing, nothingness, where a life could have been, wasted incarnations spent on autopilot, tragedy of potential never realized. Nothing ego prizes survives death. The status, the possessions, the image, the accomplishments that felt so important, all left behind, none of it travels with you. None of it matters in the end. Maranasati, death awareness, clarifies priorities now, today, in this moment. Not morbid preoccupation with mortality, but clear seeing that time is limited, this life is temporary. You don't have forever to become who you could become. If death came today, what would you regret not doing? Not accomplishing? You can't control outcomes. But not attempting, not trying, not living fully in the direction that calls to you. That's the question that clarifies everything. Don't wait for the flood. Wake up now while there's still time to live the life you came here to live. Teaching 41. Happiness without harm. If your happiness costs another's happiness, you are forever bound. True happiness doesn't harm anyone. Possession does. Exploitation does. Taking at another's expense does. But genuine happiness is free and freeing. Everything taken at another's expense is tainted, carries the weight of that harm, can never bring real peace, no matter how much pleasure it provides temporarily. Someone spent years chasing happiness through acquisition, through outdoing others, through winning at games where someone else had to lose. They got what they wanted: success, recognition, material comfort, but felt hollow, restless, never satisfied. Then they discovered something unexpected: joy in giving rather than taking, happiness in helping rather than competing. That shift changed everything. Suddenly happiness felt real, sustainable, not dependent on keeping others down. Happiness from freedom and generosity doesn't harm, doesn't take from anyone, doesn't require anyone else to lose so you can win. Interdependence, pratitya samutpada, means your happiness is connected to all beings' happiness, woven into the same web. When you harm others for your own benefit, you're harming the web you're part of. Release entitlement while honoring interconnection. You're not owed anything, and simultaneously, you're held in a vast network of mutual support where everyone affects everyone else. Desiring happiness for all beings is metta practice at its deepest. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free from suffering, including those you don't like, including yourself. Think in action, not result. Focus on wholesome deeds because they're wholesome, not because of what you'll get from them. That's detachment from fruits of action. Does your happiness harm anyone? Really look at this honestly. If yes, adjust accordingly. Find happiness that doesn't require anyone else's unhappiness. Teaching 42. The exhausted traveler. How long the road for the weary traveler? wandering through many lives. Let them rest. Do not let them suffer or fall into misery. You're living many lives simultaneously. Your own life, plus the lives others expect you to live, the roles you're playing, the masks you're wearing. Exhaustion comes from not being yourself, from constant performance, from living fractured across multiple identities instead of unified in one authentic being. Someone spent decades living others' lives, what their parents wanted, what their partner expected, what society demanded. Never asked what they actually wanted, never listened to their own deepest knowing. They were exhausted constantly, depressed, feeling like a stranger in their own life. Then they stopped, came home to themselves, started living authentically, even though it meant disappointing people. The relief was immense, finally being themselves. Rest comes from authenticity, from being who you truly are, rather than who you think you should be or who others want you to be. Happiness can't flourish in depletion. You need rest, need space, need to stop carrying burdens that aren't yours, stop living lives that aren't yours. Self-compassion is essential here. Treat yourself with the kindness you'd give someone you love. Whether you believe in many lifetimes or one life lived fractured, either way, the teaching is the same. Rest, be yourself, stop performing. You have permission to stop carrying others' burdens, to put down expectations that are crushing you, to live your actual life instead of the life others scripted for you. What would rest look like today? Not just physical rest, but deep rest. The rest that comes from being authentic, from not performing. Give yourself that. Teaching 43. Sacred Sitting. Zazen means sitting, doing nothing. In Zen tradition, Zazen is seated meditation in its purest form, simply sitting with no agenda, no goal, no trying to achieve anything or get anywhere. The paradox runs deep. Doing nothing accomplishes everything. All that striving, all that effort to become something, set it down. Just sit. Someone discovered paradise within, not by seeking it frantically, but by sitting still long enough for it to reveal itself. Years of spiritual seeking, jumping from practice to practice, teacher to teacher, always looking for the next thing that would finally bring peace. Then they just sat. No expectations, no agenda, just sitting. And in that stillness, everything they'd been seeking was already there, had always been there, waiting beneath the noise of constant effort. Relaxed, working on your own being through internal cultivation rather than external achievement. This is the work that actually transforms. Not about achieving enlightenment, not about becoming someone special. It's about being fully, completely, without agenda or goal. Stillness reveals what's always here, but gets covered over by constant doing, constant becoming, constant striving. You have permission to stop doing, start being, stop producing, stop achieving, stop performing. Finding yourself in the pause, in the gap between thoughts, in the stillness that's always available when you stop moving long enough to notice it. Sit for 5 minutes today, truly doing nothing, no agenda, no goal, not even trying to meditate properly. Just sitting. Notice what arises. Teaching 44. Wholehearted action. Do what you must do resolutely, with all your heart. The hesitant traveler only raises dust on the road. Act from heart, not mind. Heart knows directly. Mind doubts and questions and creates endless possibilities without choosing any of them. Doubt fragments you, keeps you scattered across multiple possible futures, unable to commit to any actual present action. Someone lived in hesitation for years, paralyzed by endless analysis, unable to commit to any direction, because what if it was wrong? Then something forced a choice, circumstances that wouldn't wait for perfect certainty. They chose, committed fully, moved forward wholeheartedly, even without guarantees. Life changed not because the choice was perfect, but because wholehearted commitment creates clarity, creates momentum. Right intention, the second step of the Eightfold Path, means wholehearted motivation, complete commitment, not hedging bets or keeping escape routes open. Mind creates many paths, analyzes endlessly, sees all possibilities. Heart chooses one and walks it fully, without constant second-guessing. Hesitation creates chaos. The dust you're raising obscures the path for yourself and everyone around you. Commitment creates clarity. You can see where you're going because you're actually moving. This isn't about never questioning, never reconsidering. It's about acting when it's time to act, committing when commitment is called for. Trust your deepest knowing, not your fears, not your surface preferences, but that quiet certainty that lives beneath all the noise. Then follow through, fully, completely, wholeheartedly. Heart unifies, mind divides. Heart says yes and moves forward. Mind says, but what about this and this, keeping you forever stuck at the crossroads? What's one thing you know you must do? Not should do, but must do. Something your heart knows clearly. Do it wholeheartedly. Today. Teaching 45. Peace first. If you cannot find peace, how will you learn? How will you become free? Agitated mind can't receive wisdom, can't see clearly, can't understand deeply. Peace is prerequisite, foundation, the ground from which everything else grows. Freedom requires calm foundation, You can't build liberation on chaos, can't create lasting change from constant turmoil. Someone sought understanding for years while remaining in constant agitation, always stressed, always rushing, mind always racing. They wondered why wisdom remained elusive despite all their effort. Then they understood. Peace first, then understanding. They stopped trying to advance spiritually while remaining in chaos. Found peace first through simple practices, breathing, walking, sitting, and from that peaceful ground, understanding arose naturally. Trying to advance while disturbed is like trying to walk rocky cliffs while anxious. You'll fall, or at minimum, you'll make no progress. Peace as prerequisite for growth, samadhi, concentration, and calm comes before panna, wisdom. Not that you perfect peace before attempting anything else, but you need some foundation of stability. Face life and reality in peace, not avoidance, not pretending problems don't exist, but groundedness that allows you to meet difficulty without being overwhelmed. Make peace with past, present, then move forward. You can't transcend what you're still fighting. Inquietude blocks everything. Anxiety, restlessness, constant agitation create walls that wisdom can't penetrate. Stillness opens doors. How can you find more peace today? Not perfect peace, but just a little more peace than you have right now. Start there. Teaching 46. The true path. Observe what is. Observe what is not. Follow the true way. Reality versus appearance. See what's actually here, not what seems to be here, not what you wish was here. Don't follow others' interpretations, others' maps, others' descriptions of territory you need to explore yourself. See directly with your own eyes, your own experience. Someone spent years believing narratives they'd been told about themselves, about life, about what's possible and what isn't. Never questioned whether these stories were actually true, just accepted them as reality. Then they started looking directly, seeing for themselves, testing every belief against actual experience. So much fell away. So much of what they'd believed was true was just stories, just interpretations, just conditioning. Walking false path means following others' directions to their destination, not yours. They're telling you where they went, what worked for them, valuable information, but not your path. True path is yours, where you need to go, what you need to learn, how you need to grow. Nobody else can walk it for you. Right view requires direct seeing, not seeing through filters of belief, expectation, fear, hope, conditioning, just seeing what's actually here. Reality is what is, not what seems or what we're told or what we'd prefer. Identifying truth beneath illusion, that's the work. Clear seeing leads to right action naturally. When you see what's actually happening, what's actually needed, right action becomes obvious. Question everything today, not with paranoid suspicion, but with genuine curiosity. What do you actually know versus what do you just believe? Where's the difference between reality and interpretation? Teaching 47. Sweet struggle. It is sweet to live earnestly and to be master of yourself. Living versus watching life. Active participation versus passive observation. Being in it versus hovering above it. Earning experiences through actual living, not shortcuts, not second-hand knowledge, not watching others live while you remain safe on the sidelines. Hard-won victory is sweeter than easy arrival. You know this already from your own experience. The things that came easy don't mean as much as the things you struggled for. Would you helicopter to Everest summit? Easier, certainly. Faster, definitely. But would it mean anything? The struggle is where the meaning lives, where the transformation happens. Life must be lived, not observed from safe distance, not theorized about, not studied second-hand, while avoiding actual experience. Right livelihood plus right effort equals engaged, living, ethical work, done with appropriate energy, participating fully in your own life. Ownership of your life, yours to create, yours to shape, yours to live fully or waste completely. That choice is yours. That responsibility is yours. That freedom is yours. Sweetness in effort, in growth, in becoming, not the false sweetness of ease and comfort, but deep sweetness that comes from knowing you're really living. Authenticity requires work. It's not easy being yourself in a world that constantly pressures conformity, but it's worth it. What are you avoiding that you should be living? Where are you watching instead of participating? Where are you playing it safe instead of engaging fully? Teaching 48. Dual sweetness. Wisdom is sweet, and so is freedom. Both necessary, both valuable, both supporting each other. Wisdom without freedom is just knowledge that doesn't liberate. Freedom without wisdom is just chaos that doesn't last. Don't waste time on non-essentials, on questions that don't reduce suffering, on speculation that doesn't lead anywhere useful. Focus on liberation, what actually frees you. Someone spent years debating metaphysical questions. What happens after death? Whether God exists? What consciousness really is? Interesting intellectually, endless, fascinating, but not liberating. They were still suffering, still anxious, still trapped in same patterns, despite all that philosophical sophistication. Then they shifted focus. What actually reduces suffering right now? Suddenly progress was possible because they were working on what actually mattered. thinking truly necessary thoughts rather than endless speculation about things you can't know and don't need to know to be free. Metaphysical questions don't free you. Practice does. Ethics do. Seeing clearly does. Choosing wisely does. God, heaven, hell debates become mental prisons. Fascinating prisons. Comfortable prisons, if you enjoy that kind of thinking, but prisons nonetheless. Be free. Think essentials. What reduces suffering? What creates peace? What helps you see clearly? What enables right action? Those are questions worth thinking about. Panna, wisdom, and vimutti, liberation, mutually support each other like two legs walking. Wisdom leads to freedom. Freedom creates space for deeper wisdom. Taste both, understanding that clarifies everything, unboundedness that liberates from all limitation. Both are sweet, both are necessary, both are yours to realize through practice. What thoughts actually serve your freedom? Not what thoughts are interesting or clever or impressive, but what thoughts actually help you become free. Focus there. Teaching 49. Master of your life. Be master in all you do, say, and think. Be free. Original, not copy, authentic expression of who you actually are, not imitation of who others are or who you think you should be. Why exist if you're just repeating others, just copying patterns, just following scripts someone else wrote for a life that isn't yours? Someone spent decades mimicking others, talking like people they admired, adopting opinions they'd heard, living values they'd inherited, without questioning. Then they realized, where am I in all this? Where's my actual voice, my actual self, my actual life? They started stripping away what wasn't truly theirs, started listening to their own deepest knowing, found themselves finally, after decades of being lost in other people's expectations. You are unique, genuinely, actually unique, with your own nature, your own gifts, your own path, but only if you live your life, not someone else's life wearing your body. Where's your uniqueness if you only repeat what others say, think what others think, do what others do? It's buried, hidden, unexpressed, wasted. You came here to be free being, not programmed robot, following someone else's code. You came here to discover your own nature, walk your own path. Right view, right intention, right action, all authentically yours, not borrowed from books or teachers, but discovered through your own practice, your own living. Not rebellion for its own sake, not being different just to be different. Authenticity, being who you actually are, living how you're actually called to live. Freedom lives in being genuinely yourself, not the self-ego constructed, not the self society demands, but the self that's actually here beneath all conditioning? Where are you just repeating? Where are you copying instead of creating? Where's the real you waiting to emerge? Teaching 50, the spider's web. O slave of desire, float with the current. Spider, cling to your web, or else abandon your sorrows on the way. You can abandon possessions, can leave behind relationships and locations and careers, but you can't abandon sorrows because they're internal, they're you. You are your suffering in a very real sense, identified with pain, defined by wounds, attached to narratives of victimhood that feel like your very identity. Someone realized they were clinging to suffering more tightly than they'd ever clung to happiness. Their pain had become familiar, comfortable in its way, part of how they understood themselves. Then they saw, I'm choosing this. I'm holding on to this. I could let go, but I'm not letting go. That seeing was shocking and liberating. If they were choosing suffering, they could choose differently. Why attach to pain? Do you enjoy suffering? Are you here to suffer or be happy? These aren't rhetorical questions. Answer them honestly. Strange attachment we have to our pain. It's familiar. It's what we know. It defines us in ways we're reluctant to release, even though it hurts. Upadana, clinging, operates even with negative states, even with suffering itself. We cling to our sorrows, our resentments, our victimhood, because letting go means becoming someone we don't know. But you can let go. Suffering is not your identity, not who you actually are beneath the pain. Freedom lives in releasing what you think you are, the stories, the wounds, the pain, and discovering what you actually are beneath all that. What suffering are you clinging to? What pain have you made into your identity? What sorrow could you actually release if you were willing? Can you release it? Not all at once, not perfectly, but just a little bit. Teaching 51, peaceful acceptance. To preserve your peace, don't reject what's given, nor reach for what's given to others. The world owes you nothing. This is hard truth, uncomfortable truth, but liberating truth when you really understand it. And simultaneously, you're supported by vast web of interconnection. Everything you've done for yourself ultimately, for your own growth, your own learning, not for external reward, even when you told yourself you were sacrificing for others. Someone spent years feeling resentful, convinced they'd sacrificed so much for others who didn't appreciate it. Then they understood, nobody asked me to sacrifice. I chose it. I did it for my own reasons. That understanding freed them completely from resentment. Others didn't owe them anything because others never asked for the sacrifices in the first place. Didn't sacrifice for others' gratitude. Did it for own growth, own learning, own evolution. whether you knew that at the time or not. Nobody asked for your sacrifices specifically. Release the resentment that comes from expecting reciprocation for gifts that were never actually requested. But here's the balance Buddha taught. Also recognize deep interdependence, the truth that we are connected, that we do affect each other. Balance between two truths, not entitled to anything from anyone, yet held in web of mutual support, where everyone helps everyone else simply by existing. Don't compare what you have with what others have. Comparison is suffering's engine, never satisfied, always finding something lacking. Don't grasp for what others possess. Let them have their gifts, their path, their life. Be content with yours. Ego and ignorance create expectation. Believing you're owed something, believing others should behave certain ways. Wisdom releases expectation, seeing clearly what is, accepting it, working skillfully within it. What are you expecting from others? What gratitude, what reciprocation are you waiting for? Let it go. Teaching 52. Still reflection. Quiet your mind. Reflect. Observe. Quieting reveals truth that noise obscures. Stillness creates conditions where you can see clearly, where patterns become visible. Being witness to your own life, observer of patterns, watcher of habits, noticer of what's actually happening versus what you tell yourself is happening. Someone who spent years in constant motion suddenly stopped. Illness forced it. Circumstance demanded it. In that stillness, everything became clear. Patterns they'd been repeating for decades became visible for first time. Truths they'd been avoiding became undeniable. Changes they needed to make became obvious. All because they finally stopped moving long enough to see. Flowers opening, beauty revealed in stillness that's invisible in chaos. Patterns emerging in quiet that are obscured in noise. Stay still, be witness, just observe, without immediately reacting, without immediately fixing, without immediately judging what you see. Just see it. Vipassana, insight meditation, arises from calm observation, from sustained attention to what's actually happening in your experience, moment by moment. Samadhi, concentration, calm, creates conditions for wisdom to emerge, for panna to develop, for understanding to arise naturally without force. Not universe acting on your behalf magically, your own insight emerging through practice, through sustained attention, through willingness to look clearly. Stillness as foundation, then clarity comes, then understanding emerges, then wisdom develops, then transformation becomes possible. Be completely still for 5 minutes today, not meditating properly, not trying to achieve anything, just still. What's revealed? What becomes visible that's invisible in motion? Teaching 53. the single word, samasati. Everything significant is contained in one word, samasati. Samasati, right mindfulness, is the seventh step of the Eightfold Path, and, in many ways, it's the heart of everything Buddha taught. Not choosing yourself in individualistic sense, not elevating ego, but continuous, clear awareness, being awake, being present, seeing what's actually happening without filters or distortion. Buddha was human, not God, teacher, not savior, guide, not deity, someone who found a path and shared it, not someone claiming special divine status. Thousands of Buddhas throughout history, known and unknown, anyone who awakens fully deserves that title. Anyone who sees clearly, who lives consciously, who's free from the three poisons of greed, hatred, and delusion. Anyone who discovers their own life and follows it authentically, who renounces obedience to conditioning and chooses authentic being, who sees through ego's illusions, potential Buddha, potential awakened one. Nobody elected them Buddha. Nobody ordained them. Nobody gave them permission. They chose themselves through practice, through sustained effort, through willingness to see clearly, even when seeing was difficult. Samasati means present moment awareness, continuous and clear, not blank mind empty of everything, but awake mind, seeing directly without conceptual overlay, without constant mental commentary, without reactive judgment. Not empty mind, but awake mind, present, clear, aware, responsive, seeing what's actually here rather than lost in thoughts about what's here. Foundation of all practice. Everything flows from mindfulness. Everything depends on being present. Everything requires seeing clearly what's actually happening. Watching breath, watching body sensations, watching mind's movements, watching phenomena arise and pass, all with clear awareness, all with sustained attention, all with non-reactive presence. Someone cultivated samasati consistently for years, not perfectly, not without lapses, but persistently returning to awareness again and again. Their life transformed completely, not through dramatic interventions, but through sustained attention, through continuous mindfulness. Being present more and more often, until presence became natural, until awareness became default rather than exception. Choose to wake up. That's the first step, the essential step, the step everything else depends on. Walk the path. That's the sustained effort, the daily practice, the repeated returning to presence. Arrive at freedom. That's what happens naturally when you choose and walk consistently enough. Buddha left a method, not a religion, the Eightfold Path of ethical conduct, mental discipline, and wisdom, all synthesized in samasati, mindful awareness of everything. You have Buddha nature, potential to awaken that exists in every human being, not as gift granted by gods, but as capacity inherent in being conscious. Must walk path yourself. Nobody can do it for you. Nobody can awaken on your behalf. Nobody can see clearly for you, or practice for you, or free you. That's sammasati, choosing awareness, walking consciously, arriving at peace. Not mystical, not magical, supremely practical. Every moment is opportunity to be mindful or unconscious, to be present or lost in thought, to see clearly or remain confused. Choose mindfulness. That's the entire teaching in 3 words. Everything else flows from that choice, repeated moment after moment after moment, until it's not a choice anymore, but your natural way of being. Right now, this moment, are you aware? That's sammasati. Do that continuously. That's the path. That's everything Buddha taught. You've received 53 seeds of wisdom. They'll grow in their own time. No pressure to remember everything. One teaching truly absorbed is enough. The Noble Eightfold Path is your complete practice. Right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. All working together, supporting each other, creating conditions for freedom. Metta practice transforms the heart. May I be safe, happy, healthy, at ease. Extend that to loved ones, then neutral people, then difficult people, finally to all beings everywhere. 5 minutes daily changes everything. Buddha established Sangha, community, as one of the 3 jewels. Practice alone strengthens. Practice with others sustains. Find local groups, online communities, or simply know, right now, millions are practicing with you. You have Buddha nature, potential to awaken that exists in everyone. Not about becoming someone else, but uncovering what's always been here. The path is yours alone to walk, but you're not alone. Thousands have walked before you. Thousands walk beside you now. This isn't ending, it's beginning. Every moment is fresh start, new opportunity. Buddha's last words: work out your own liberation with diligence. That work starts now, one breath at a time, one mindful moment at a time. The path unfolds beneath your feet as you walk. Trust yourself, trust the practice, trust the unfolding. You've got this, and you're not alone, never alone. May you find the peace you're seeking. May sammasati guide your steps. Thank you for being here. The journey continues.